Our next and final speaker is someone who finds clarity and calm in a walk through the park and believes we should all have that chance. A passionate advocate for the restorative power of nature, Chris will share why green spaces matter, especially where we live. Please welcome Chris Ecklund with his speech, Headspace from Green Space.
I'm here to lay before you a single, simple idea. Single-family home, single-family yard. Multi-family building, logic would suggest a multi-family yard, a shared yard. But first, let's back up to my own story. I just finished work and stepped outside the building. Can we all do that together? I'm in Budapest, stepping outside onto a small suburb street with houses and small businesses. I walk around the corner onto the main street, 5 minutes down, until I get to the commuter train platform. Standing there, staring into the distance, waiting for the train to round the corner. Finally it comes. I get on, tossed around for 10 minutes, until I exit into the train station. A cacophony of crowds, of trains coming and going, of the bakeries and the smells of all the food stands. And I jump into the river of people, down the Cascades, down to the subway. The longest escalator you have ever seen, because that subway used to be a bomb shelter during the Cold War. Once again, on the subway, tossed around for 10 minutes, and then back up again, back out onto the street to a bike. I bike about 10 blocks, which I loved. It was a short bike, but I loved zipping through the city until I get to my apartment and walk across the street to the local city park that was next door. As I walk into the park, there's little kids shrieking with laughter running around the playground, up and down the slide. There's a fenced-in soccer court with teenagers playing soccer and some music playing. There's an outdoor workout area with people all over it. And there's a jogging track, also very heavily used. There's a grass hill in the distance, and there's people sitting in the grass or sitting on a blanket. And at this park, there's workers there at the end of the day, finding relief under the trees. But for me, this time, I just play it simple. I sit on a bench. Can you feel it? Such a great feeling. Too few, too far between. The public parks culture was one of the things I loved best about Budapest. City parks were a way of life. So, fast forward, when we moved to Orlando, we didn't move to an apartment with a big city park next door, like our apartment in Budapest, but we did find an apartment next to a wooded area, had a small lake, it had a walking path, and it was good for the time. I spent a lot of time there. I really enjoyed it. I could unwind. And there's lots of apartments to choose from in Orlando now, thanks to demand. Florida was popular. COVID made it more popular. Lots of people moving here. Not a lot of affordable housing, though. Florida passed the Live Local Act to create incentives to build more affordable housing. And whether or not that measure is succeeding, or whether or not you agree with it, there's no doubt that apartments are growing out of the ground left and right. Some apartments do have dog parks. They might have lakes. There might be a bike path next door or a public park nearby. But others don't. And even with all the apartments being built, I don't hear about public parks being built. Turns out I Googled it, and there are some. There are some public parks being built in Orlando, and that's a good thing. But I wish the need and the value of parks was more acknowledged. Now you might present the price argument. Affordable housing. We can't have amenities. It's affordable housing. But I counter this with the main idea I started with, shared yard. The financial burden is shared across many units, across multiple buildings. The multifamily housing could be intentionally built around green spaces and public parks. I believe in this model, and it's not a new idea either. In the big cities I've lived in and the big cities I've traveled to, I've seen clumps of apartment buildings built around a common green space. Sometimes there's even 10 or more buildings around one of these spaces. And universities have countless examples of education buildings and student dormitories clumped around a green space. It's basically a visual representation of higher education campuses. If you're out in the city and you see buildings surrounding, big buildings, surrounding a green field, crisscrossed with sidewalks, you probably think, oh, there must be a college or a university over there. And that's a good thing, because with all the stress of learning, students need the outdoors to decompress. But today, I see some affordable housing without this benefit. These are multifamily buildings, but without a multifamily yard. Now, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty certain that experiencing a green space is good for you. It helps your mental health, which increases your productivity and effectiveness, both at home and at work. I help people move into new office space. I hope wherever they're moving to, wherever their new office is, has some green space nearby to enjoy, because workers can find relief by going and spending some time under the trees. And I hope people can find green space in their personal lives, either at home or a short distance away. So whatever your status is, and whatever your level of influence is, I encourage you to give this some thought. How can we incorporate more green space into our affordable housing initiatives so that we might endorse the value of public parks? Because when we get outside, we release the stress, we clear the mind, and we get more headspace as a result of being in the green space. Together, this week, let's commit to finding our own green space to enjoy. Mr. Toastmaster.